Welcome to Film Tale Echoes. Imagine a world where every human being is gone, and you're the only one left. No voices, no footsteps, just you, the silence, and the ruins of a civilization that once was. This is the story of Ish, the man who survived and who tried to rebuild the world from the ground up. Ish was a quiet biologist, living deep in the forest, far from cities, lost in his research. One afternoon, while walking, a venomous snake struck. Panic surged through him. He fumbled for his phone but dropped it into the dirt. Alone and desperate, he tried everything, pressing his mouth to the wound, cutting into his skin to drain the poison. But the venom spread fast. His body went weak. Hallucinations swallowed him whole. For days, Ish lay helpless. Once he even saw a team of scientists searching nearby, but he was too weak to speak. They left, thinking the area empty. Slowly, his crude treatment began to work. The poison leaked out, and his strength returned, though his mind still felt haunted. Determined to reach help, Ish dragged himself to his car and drove toward the nearest city. But the closer he got, the stranger everything seemed. Empty roads, silent houses, not a single car or human in sight. When he reached the city center, the streets were deserted, the buildings hollow. A deadly pandemic had swept through while he was isolated in the forest, killing nearly everyone in days. Now, alone in a world without governments, without crowds, without even an echo of life, Ish wandered the ruins of civilization. He drove to his parents' home, clinging to a flicker of hope, but found only their lifeless bodies. Overcome with grief, he buried them himself in the backyard, his tears falling into the soil. Hoping for life elsewhere, Ish gathered supplies, strapped on a gun for safety, and set off for Las Vegas. The bridge was sealed. He took a longer route, his anger growing with every mile. But when he finally arrived, the neon paradise was dead. Hotels, casinos, malls, silent as tombs. That night, he slept in a luxury hotel, eating and drinking. Wealth meant nothing now. He had almost given up hope when he stumbled across two survivors. A woman, her eyes hollow, spoke of how she watched her family die over a video call. A man, equally broken, said he no longer wanted to live. They spent the night together, the three of them fragile remnants of a lost species. But by morning, despair twisted into something darker. The man gripped a gun, planning to kill them all, an end to suffering before it could stretch into eternity. Ish chose life. He ran, heart pounding, and soon after, gunshots echoed across the empty streets. The two survivors had ended their own lives. The sound left him hollow, consumed by a loneliness so deep it seemed unbearable. Driving in despair, a sudden movement caught his eye. A dog, wild-eyed and as lost as he was, darted across the road. Ish took it in, naming it his companion. For the first time in months, a flicker of hope warmed his chest. Ish began to rebuild his existence. He read survival books, explored the empty city, and realized there was no shortage of food. Money and work were meaningless now. Yet every day he wandered the streets during work hours, searching for another human. Each evening, he returned home disappointed. One quiet morning, as he sipped tea by the window with the dog at his feet, the animal began barking. Smoke curled into the sky from a distant house, a signal of life. Ish raced there and found a frightened girl. He reassured her he meant no harm, explaining that he too was alone and searching for survivors. Slowly, trust grew, and he stepped inside. Her name was Emma. Through their conversation, they realized a year had passed since the pandemic began, and neither had seen another soul. The crushing loneliness that had gripped them both began to lift. They decided to live together in Ish's house, close to the general store, and stocked with supplies. Life, once meaningless, began to feel purposeful. Emma encouraged Ish in ways he hadn't realized he needed, helping him care for himself and renovate the house he had neglected for months. They set small goals each day, working side by side. For the first time since the world ended, life felt meaningful. Over time, the couple considered humanity's fragile future. Ish wondered how children could survive in this broken world. But Emma reassured him, planting seeds of hope. As a biologist, Ish studied childbirth and survival, preparing for the responsibility of raising the next generation. Together, they installed solar panels, reinforced their home, and made it as safe and comfortable as possible. Outside, the world was changing. Cities slowly transformed into forests. Wild animals roamed freely, and survival grew more dangerous. To protect themselves, they built fences, gathered weapons, and kept pets for companionship. The air was cleaner, the surroundings greener, and their health improved. Life felt almost perfect. Until a new problem appeared. One night, Ish discovered a massive swarm of rats invading their territory. In a panic, he burned piles of trash to drive them off, but the effect was temporary. Emma calmed him, promising a solution. By morning, Ish released several cats around the house. Slowly, the cats brought the rat population under control and danger passed. Finally, the day arrived for Emma to give birth. Fear gripped Ish, but he managed the delivery himself. Emma brought a baby girl into the world, filling them both with joy and a renewed sense of hope. Determined to reach others, they began writing their address on city walls and signs, hoping any other survivors might find them. And so, life moved forward. 6 years passed. One day, while driving through the forest, Ish nearly ran over a wild animal. It lay injured on the road, struggling for each breath. Heart heavy, Ish knew he couldn't let it suffer. He ended its pain with a single shot. Unbeknownst to him, someone had been watching. A young girl hid in the trees, and the gunshot sent her fleeing deeper into the forest. Ish noticed her and ran after her, not to harm, but to help. Terrified, the girl kept her distance. Only when Ish offered her an apple did hunger overcome fear. Slowly, she realized he meant no harm, though she refused to sit beside him and climbed into the trunk of his car instead. By now, Ish and Emma had 2 children and were expecting a third. Thanks to messages they had left around the city, other survivors had found them. Jorge and Maureen had been living with them for over a year, helping build a small but resilient community. The girl remained hidden in the trunk that night. The next morning, Maureen approached gently, offering food. At first, the girl rejected it, mistrusting strangers. Maureen shared her own story, how she and Jorge had wandered for months in a broken world before finding Ish and Emma's safe haven. Slowly, the girl began to trust them. Though she relaxed, she hardly spoke and revealed nothing about herself. That is, until Maureen discovered a letter among her belongings. Her name was Evie. That very night, Emma gave birth to their third child, bringing new joy to the household. A year later, news came that someone had entered their territory. The community armed themselves, sending the children inside for safety. The newcomers turned out to be another small group of survivors, including a doctor named Molly. She explained that aside from them, she had met no one else alive in all these years. Ish and Emma welcomed them, expanding the family and strengthening the community. With a larger group, Ish established rules for survival. Weapons were always ready. Supplies were gathered in teams, never alone. Together, they ventured into abandoned malls and hospitals, scavenging food and essentials. Molly collected medical supplies to treat illness or injury, ensuring the community remained healthy. Years passed and their society grew. Children were born, not only to Ish and Emma, but to other couples. Ish taught them how the world had once worked, how people survived before civilization fell, preparing them for the challenges of this new world. Life seemed stable, their home now surrounded by dense, untamed forest. But one day, a massive lion strayed close to their settlement. Ish saw it first and ran forward to protect the children. The beast lunged, chaos erupting as everyone panicked. Thankfully, the lion eventually backed away. Molly and the others rushed to Ish's aid, saving him. Weeks of care were needed, but Ish recovered, stronger than before. 17 years had passed. The children had grown into young adults, strong and capable. Ish's eldest daughter, Heather, had formed a close bond with a boy from the community. No one criticized them. Forming relationships was essential if humanity were to survive. Determined to explore and find other survivors, Heather and her companions set off with supplies and weapons. The community supported their journey, proud yet anxious. But a new threat soon emerged. Though food was abundant, water was scarce. Investigating, Ish discovered the nearby dam was drying up, a crisis that could endanger everyone. Not long after, another group of survivors arrived in 2 large trucks. They needed petrol but offered a solution: a powerful drilling machine capable of tapping underground water. Ish agreed, though he warned his people to remain vigilant. Drilling began at his home, and after days of hard work, water finally gushed from the ground. The community rejoiced, and Ish honored his promise, providing petrol in return. That night, celebration filled the settlement, yet Ish sensed unease. Late at night, he noticed Charlie, the visitors' leader, slipping from his room. Ish followed and discovered one of Charlie's men stationed outside. Inside, the unthinkable. Evie had been tortured. Anger surged through Ish as he gathered the community to reveal the truth. Evie explained that Charlie had no intention of leaving. He planned to seize their supplies and take control with force. Fear rippled through the group. Debate followed. Many insisted Charlie must die to protect everyone, while a few argued that every surviving human was precious. Ish's voice cut through the discussion. "If we don't kill Charlie, Charlie will kill us." That night, the plan was carried out. Surrounded by the community, Ish swung his axe and ended Charlie's life. It was the first time he had killed another man, not for revenge, but for survival. He buried Charlie himself, carrying the burden of guilt, even knowing it had been necessary. The next morning, Ish explained to Charlie's group what had occurred. To his surprise, many were relieved. Charlie had abused them for years, exploiting his power and tormenting the vulnerable. Only his closest ally protested, but Ish stood firm. "You may stay, but he cannot. We cannot risk our people." The man left, defiant at first, then returned begging for acceptance. Ish's decision did not waver. The gates remained closed. Life pressed on. The community's children worked on an ambitious dream, rebuilding an old plane from abandoned research. They longed to fly, imagining a future beyond survival. Then tragedy struck. The same deadly virus that had nearly wiped out humanity 20 years before returned. Though the community had once been immune, many fell ill. Molly worked tirelessly, but Ish's son became gravely sick. Within days, 3 more members succumbed. Heather returned home alone, her face streaked with tears. She recounted how she and her partner had searched countless cities, leaving their address behind, but found no survivors. Deep in the forest, they had encountered a man, the outcast Ish had once expelled. In cold blood, he killed her partner. Terrified, Heather fought back and killed him to survive, returning home devastated. The sorrow didn't end there. Ish's son could not be saved. He passed away, and within days, 3 more members of their community also died from the infection. The losses crushed Ish. He felt his strength and purpose vanish. For a moment, he considered giving up entirely. Then Emma reminded him of their journey. "Remember when we had no one? We started from nothing. Now we've built a family. If you give up, who will guide the children? Who will teach them to survive in this world? Her words pierced the darkness. Despite the pain and grief, he had a responsibility. To the children, to the community, to the future of humanity. Encouraged by Emma's words, Ish climbed the mountains at dawn. As the first light spilled over the horizon, he took in a world transformed. Forests stretched endlessly. The air was crisp and clean, and silence enveloped everything. The old world was gone. In its place was something new, vibrant and alive. In that moment, Ish understood his mistake. All these years, he had taught the children to survive in a world that no longer existed. This was a new beginning, and they needed guidance for the life that awaited them now. Together, they adapted. Without global communication, the community rebuilt an old radio network, staying connected across the region. Ish organized small gatherings, teaching the children how humans could live together, share, cooperate, and thrive peacefully. He did not stop there. Ish led expeditions beyond their settlement, restoring abandoned towns, renovating empty hotels, and transforming the ruins of the past into the foundations of a new future. Slowly, the world they once feared became a place of possibility. Years passed. In a quiet, heartwarming post-credit moment, we see Ish, now an old man with his grandson. The boy listens intently as Ish recounts the incredible journey of survival, loss, and rebuilding. With a proud smile, Ish finishes the story, his voice steady but warm. This world now belongs to your generation. Carry it forward.